Hi guys, welcome back to Dial M Media. I'm the Duke. Today we'll be starting a tutorial series that I've been looking forward to doing for a while now. Ear training. I was originally going to talk a little bit about my past experience in this field, but then I remembered how much I hate it when people prattle on about themselves in videos. So instead, I've put it in the description below if you want to give it a read. I call this approach the dual function method, and it deals with relative pitch recognition and navigating tonal centers. So a quick disclaimer, we won't be utilizing tonic solfa or interval recognition. I tried tonic solfa several times in my life and I found that the connection between phonetic sounds and musical tones was not helpful to me, and tended to force my brain to do more than what was necessary. It also wasn't much help when it came to comprehending the functions and relationships within keys and tonal centers. However, if tonic solfa works for you, then that's great. Hopefully the system will help you improve or reinforce what you already know. As for interval recognition, that was something I actually focused on a lot for several years, during which time I discovered a few pitfalls and traps with it that can actually be a detriment and hindrance to one's ability to navigate music aurally. I'll point out some of these as we come to them. We will obviously be including some interval recognition in these tutorials, but more as a supplement to the main methodology. And so with that out the way, let's begin. We're going to keep things nice and simple for this first session by establishing some principles and audio references for the root, third, and fifth of the major key. To maintain a level of consistency throughout these tutorials, I'm going to keep C as the tonal center for now. So basically for each of these examples, you want to choose a brief melody that satisfies the following criteria. 1. It's short, prominent in the song, and that you know very well. 2. It emphasizes the note in question either through repetition and/or return. And 3. It has sufficient interaction with its parent scale to distinguish it from the other notes in question. I would encourage against the use of fast swing and bebop melodies, or generally speaking any melody that's too fast or too busy. You want to use a simple and slow melody. There are many songs out there to choose from. Feel free to explore and find your own that meet these criteria. For now, I'll be discussing my own. Let's begin with the root. The root is probably the most important note of all of these because it's A, the tonic note of the scale, and B, usually the starting and/or ending note of a section of music. My personal reference for the root is the opening melody of Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Aural. This example is great because it begins famously with an octave jump from the tonic to the tonic above it, reinforcing the sound of the root. It then features a brief exploration of the upper three notes of the major scale, 5, 6, and 7, before returning to the root. This essentially mimics the latter part of an ascending major scale. The important thing here is that this brief melody conjures up both the sounds of the root note of the scale as well as the end of an ascending major scale. Here it is again. Next we move on to the major third. This is the characteristic note of the major scale, differentiating it from the minor scale. My personal reference for this is the opening notes of Mary Had a Little Lamb by Lowell Mason. This is another great reference because it features both repetition and return, and also features some stepwise interaction with the tonic of the major key, further reinforcing its tonal center. Moreover, this song has been ingrained in most of our minds since we were children, making it very familiar and recognizable. Here it is again. Finally, we have the fifth. This is also an important note of the major scale due to its interaction with both the tonic and dominant triads. And is in fact the dominant note of the scale. Because it happens to be part of the root notes harmonic series, the fifth note can be difficult to tell apart from the root. It's for this reason that it's important to use a reference melody that interacts with the rest of the scale enough to distinguish it. My personal choice for this is the opening melody from Alfie by Burt Bacharach. This melody is virtually identical to Mary Had a Little Lamb, and therefore satisfies the requirements just as effectively. The only difference is that it begins on the fifth and not the third. Due to the interval construction of the major key, however, it's easily distinguishable from the third. Mary Had a Little Lamb descends by 2 consecutive whole tones, while Alfie descends by a single whole tone and a single semitone. And with this, we arrive at the first dual function method of hearing 2 things against one another. If you pick any note at random, for example A, you want to be able to impose one of these melodies on that note. For instance, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, Mary Had a Little Lamb, and Alfie. You'll notice that in each case, under the same note of A, we find ourselves in 3 different keys. Because all 3 of these melodies' tonal interactions are unique and characteristic enough, you should be able to tell which melody fits a given note and which doesn't. For example, Alfie doesn't work on the root due to the intervals making up the melody. Likewise, Mary Had a Little Lamb doesn't work on the fifth for the same reason. Once you've internalized these tonal references, you'll hopefully be able to instantly place yourself correctly within the major scale, either on the root, the third, or the fifth. Here are all 3 references in C major one more time. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and drop a like and a comment. It helps the channel out hugely. Also, please check out our Patreon for exclusive downloadable content. Until next time, this is the Duke, signing out.